Welcome into the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Senior. Coming your way on today's show, another 49ers news and rumors mailbag. We love hearing from the faithful. We love hearing from San Francisco. All of these questions as part of our live shows. We go live every single Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. And if I don't answer your questions during these mailbags, feel free to hit me up on social media at Chase_Senior. Same handle on Twitter and Instagram. Luscious with this question: if we acquire the 11th pick from the Washington Commanders and can't acquire Kyle Hamilton, who would be the second best option? Really good question. So we talked about this on Monday's 49ers Report. An executive with the Washington Commanders can justify giving up a first-round pick at number 11 to get back Jimmy Garoppolo, who would clearly be an upgrade over Taylor Heinicke. And actually, I think Garoppolo would fit well there in addition to the Pittsburgh Steelers because both teams are kind of set defensively, have some good options offensively, and Garoppolo certainly needs help around him for him to bring the best out of his own game. Now, if you can't acquire and draft Kyle Hamilton, the star-studded safety out of Notre Dame, who plays like Isaiah Simmons, who's more of a hybrid type, Kyle Hamilton more of a prototypical safety, but has that athletic ability and that range and athleticism, it's really, really crazy, his sideline-to-sideline range. How about Derek Stingley, cornerback out of LSU? You're able to address probably the biggest need going into this offseason at cornerback, and you bring in a star-studded cornerback in Derek Stingley, who had a rocky year with LSU. If he were to come out 2 years ago, probably would have been a bona fide top 10 selection. Maybe he slides back in the draft just a bit. I'm still high on the prospect, and he could be that number one outside lockdown cornerback. And if you do draft him, you don't have to pay big money to a guy like Stephon Gilmore or J.C. Jackson. Ryan McDonald with the next question: if the 49ers try to trade for Saquon Barkley, what do we give up? At most, I'm giving up like a third, maybe a fourth-round pick. Nothing more than that. And if Joe Schoen, new general manager for the New York Giants, asks for more than a third, fourth, middle-tier pick, I'm not giving it up. Now, I understand that the Giants probably want more back, but I think running back is an expendable position, and I'm content with some of the backs on this roster right now in Elijah Mitchell, Trey Sermon, and maybe you bring back Raheem Mostert at a discounted price as he continues to try and prove that he can stay healthy. Niner Faithful watches us every week. Nice Dion pick, by the way, in those fresh 49ers threads. What pass rusher can we draft/sign in free agency to pair alongside Nick Bosa? So honestly, I think this 49ers defensive line is pretty set. I think you want to bring back DJ Jones if you can. Eric Armstead was one of the best interior defensive linemen the back half of the year. I'd love to bring back Arden Key. I almost want to focus on some of the players who were in-house with this 49ers team so that you don't have to draft or sign somebody in NFL free agency. And the crop of edge rushers this year really isn't as loaded as it's been in years past. A guy like Jadeveon Clowney, is he offered big money elsewhere? If not, do you sign him and then let an Arden Key walk? He gets whistled for some really bad penalties, but I think he can still play. I don't look at his sack numbers and say, he's a bust since being that top pick to the Houston Texans. He can wreak havoc. So maybe a guy like that, but honestly, I'm looking at keeping and retaining some of the players already who are on this roster who are set to be free agents because they already know the DeMeco Ryans scheme. Corey 49er, what do you make of Joe Montana's comments last week that Trey Lance isn't ready and he'd bring back Jimmy Garoppolo? Is he still bitter that Steve Young took his job and became a Super Bowl winning MVP caliber quarterback? Maybe. I'm kind of kidding when I say that with tongue in cheek, but nobody knows if Trey Lance is ready to play until we actually see him play. And in his first two starts, I thought he showed a lot of potential. I thought he displayed a lot of special athletic qualities. And the biggest takeaway for me, it was a little bit rocky in that first start against the Arizona Cardinals. The first half of that Texans game, he was really up and down. But he got better from start one to start two, and in the span of one game, we saw him make dramatic improvements. Here's what I know about Trey Lance, because I don't know if he's ready to play. The coaching staff and players think that he might be able to because the comments out of the practice facility point that Trey Lance was kind of doing some Patrick Mahomes-like things during practices. He's got elite arm strength. He can run it. That dual threat ability keeps defenses on their heels. And in today's NFL, that's really, really important. And I think you want to try to maximize from a team building strategy. Having a quarterback on their rookie contract allows you to pay a Debo, pay a Nick Bosa, pay some of the other pieces on this roster to compete for a championship. And I think the Niners are really close in that regard. So would you bring back Jimmy G? Because Joe Montana would. I think it's kind of ridiculous because also the financial implications of it. You don't bring back Jimmy G. That frees up a lot of money to retain some of your own. Type Y for yes, type N for no. That'll be the pinned comment on today's video. So if you get hit with that YouTube ad break, just scroll on down and get your votes in. Also, make sure you subscribe to the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. We're bringing you videos every day of the week, even though the offseason is here. And even though the offseason is upon us, our coverage doesn't stop. Let's continue to grow. Hit that red subscribe button down below. BK from the Bay, one of our biggest fans. Do you think we have a shot at maybe picking up Von Miller? Yeah, he's set to be a free agent, so we can hit on that question from earlier because that earlier question was, hey, edge rushers. Outside of Nick Bosa, who can we pick up? I'd pass on Von Miller. I think he's old, and yes, he was really, really good with the Los Angeles Rams, and it seemed as though anytime that defense, led by defensive coordinator Raheem Morris, needed a big play, it was Aaron Donald coming through, and it was Von Miller coming through with some really big plays. I still think Von can play, but in spots. And when he's playing alongside an Aaron Donald, or maybe alongside a player like Nick Bosa, doesn't have as much focus on him. So that allows him to get some of that one-on-one coverage on the outer edge to make his moves, and he's got a wide array of them, and he's able to breathe down the necks of opposing quarterbacks, and he can cause a lot of problems. But the money and the age and some of the injury concerns have me have a little bit of reservation about signing Von Miller. Alpha Dr. 20, who would you rather have, Rodgers or Brady? Also, what's your opinion on Javon Kinlaw? I think Javon Kinlaw could get cut this upcoming offseason. I think he could get traded away for like a 5th or 6th round pick. I do think that we're at that point. If another team thinks that Javon Kinlaw still has potential and can get past those injuries, and DJ Jones's play has made Javon Kinlaw somewhat expendable. As for Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, Rodgers is the younger player. I think Tom Brady is the better quarterback. And both of them from Northern California, one from Chico, one from San Mateo. I think Brady, for 1 year, gives you a better opportunity to win a Super Bowl championship. And at the end of the day, that's the biggest goal. And Brady has been better in the postseason. Aaron Rodgers has come through, less in the postseason, I should say. 0-4 against San Francisco throughout his playoff career, and seems to get tight at the end of games and in the guts of games, whereas Tom Brady is at his best. And I think Brady's playing better football right now. So I'd go Brady over Rodgers, and those are my thoughts on Javon Kinlaw. Let me ask you this. Weird report from Rodney Harrison prior to Super Bowl 56 that he had spoken with Aaron Donald, and then this report kind of took off a little bit, and he had reported that Aaron Donald might retire if the Rams went on to win the Super Bowl. Unfortunately for the Niner gang, Rams were victorious against the Bengals in the Super Bowl, and Aaron Donald's future, somewhat uncertain. I think it's a leverage play, honestly, for him and Sean McVay. They want more money, want more security with their contracts, but do you want Aaron Donald to retire? R for retire, C for come back. I'm going R for retire because he ended the 49ers season in the NFC Championship game, but he is an all-time great. We have another deal we want to tell you about thanks to our friends at Fanatics. Chatsports.com/49swag. Plug in that link. That'll take you to the promised land to get this fresh 49ers hoodie that right now for limited time only is available for $20 off. Only 45 bones, and the color scheme on this thing is so fresh. Get swagged out. Get decked out with some 49ers swag by plugging in that link down below. I'll put that link in the comment section as well as the description of this video. Ryan McDonald, sign Tyrod Taylor or Teddy Bridgewater as backups? If not, who do you say, Chase? Yeah, those are decent options. I think they're decent scheme fits. And if you do move forward with Trey Lance, both give you a decent backup where if you were to get hurt, you'd be able to put them in for a game or a few games, and I think you'd be able to survive throughout the course of the NFL season. Now, these are the top backup quarterbacks on the market. Good job by producer Marshall Green for pulling this up quickly. A lot of really good options, honestly. Not as starters, but as backups. I'd be cool with any of them, honestly. Jameis Winston, Teddy Bridgewater, Tyrod Taylor, Marcus Mariota gives you a running element, kind of like Trey Lance. You wouldn't have to change up the offense all that much. And I like Jacoby Brissett as a backup quarterback as well. I'd honestly be cool with any of these options as backing up Trey Lance. David Delgado, hey Chase, the GOAT. You're the GOAT, my homie. Thank you, though. What do the Niners also need besides cornerbacks? Because that's obvious. I think you need to shore up that right guard position. Is Aaron Banks it? Hopefully as a second-round pick out of Notre Dame. He was great with the Fighting Irish, not good in limited action throughout the preseason and the regular season. I think you bring back Mike McGlinchey. Maybe you look to trade him, but are you going to find a better upgrade out there as compared to Mike McGlinchey? Maybe not. I think, defensive back, as you talked about, really big need. How about a big-bodied wide receiver like a Mike Williams in NFL free agency to pair up with Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, who are more so threats across the middle? Ayuk saying on Twitter this week, I want more deep balls. I think he could flourish in that way, but a big-bodied goal line wide receiver could be a good option if the 49ers move on from Jawan Jennings. We've been talking a lot about Trey Lance throughout this mailbag, and I want you to look into your crystal ball right here, that Ozark O that's coming at your screen. How many touchdowns will Trey Lance throw in 2022 if, of course, he is the starting quarterback for Kyle Shanahan's offense? Give me a number figure in the comment section. Chris, will Jalen Hurd sign to our practice squad? If not, where will he go? Please, I hope not. I don't want to talk about Jalen Hurd ever again. It's unfortunate what happened to him, but our hopes were dashed so many times with Jalen Hurd. Couldn't escape the injuries. Back, ACL. You saw him in that preseason game. I think it was the third preseason game. Look good. That's that aforementioned big-bodied wide receiver who just couldn't stay healthy. No way you sign him to your practice squad. Give it to somebody else who actually has a realistic shot at cracking the 53-man roster. I don't think he's going to go anywhere because he's way too injury-prone. Daniel, last question in this mailbag. Top safety options. Tyrann Mathieu at the top of that list. Marcus Williams is also a very good safety option as well. If you're watching this live, we're actually about to break down the top 40 free agency targets for San Francisco. Those are a couple of the top safety options. Kyle Hamilton in the draft, if let's say the Washington Commanders trade away that number 11 selection, that could be an option there. He might be better and, of course, cheaper than some of those free agent options, but those are some names to pass along as options for San Francisco if they want to move on from Jaquiski Tartt, who is also a free agent. Now, if I didn't answer your question during this mailbag, or if you want to interact, talk, hit me up at Chase_Senior, Twitter and Instagram. My DMs are open. I do my best to answer as many as possible. Hit me up at Chase_Senior. It's the same handle on both social media platforms.